Hey everyone, we are live from my backyard where I am smoking a brisket and some ribs.
Silicon Valley's most influential men are having an extremely cringe midlife crisis right now, and they're taking it all out on the rest of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the richest man in the world.
The men who founded the internet's biggest companies built them by taking the open, free, and chaotic Wild West of the internet, and they reimagined it as a safe place where your mom could post minion memes. But now they have a new idea. They want to turn that walled garden into a country club, and they want to make us pay to use it. It sucks, it's lame, it won't work, and here's how it could mean the death of the internet as we know it.
One of the crazy things when you do these live Q&As is some of them are very silly. So we got one, Mark, are the allegations true that you are secretly a lizard? I'm gonna have to go with no on that. I am not a lizard, but keep the high quality comments coming in, please.
If you're too young to remember it, the transition from the age of mainstream media, which is newspapers, magazines, television, radio, CDs, movies, to social media didn't happen all at once.
Nice of you to join us.
If I were to put a date range on it, I'd say it really started in earnest in the US with the Miley Cyrus twerking incident at the 2013 VMAs. Although maybe perhaps earlier in 2012 during Hurricane Sandy. Both events were instantaneously turned into and shaped by internet content in ways that were largely impossible for traditional media to deal with.
You write that Instagram, the photo sharing app and website, might be the new citizen journalism as we watched it unfold during Hurricane Sandy. Is it?
Well, I think Instagram was a little bit of a disappointment, frankly. We wrote that on Monday. We had had an exclusive sit down with Kevin Systrom, who created Instagram the week before. And he had said that, really this was his vision for Instagram, for it to be more than this, blog of what rich people kids buy on Instagram, and more of really having its Arab Spring moment. And, we wondered if this would be it.
And I'd say the transition probably ended with the 2021 GameStop pump, or once again, maybe earlier, when Stephen Colbert filmed the first Late Show monologue from his bathtub wearing AirPods during the pandemic. Both feel like moments where the internet had become the dominant reality and traditional media was now just another portal through which we could view it. Here we all were, stuck at home, and one of the biggest names in entertainment is effectively vlogging from his bathroom.
All we know is suddenly GameStop is this hot stock, and it's sort of pitting these individual investors, folks like you and me, against big hedge funds. What is this all about?
It's an extraordinary story. This is populism coming for capitalism. GameStop.
It was during that general period of time that we largely abandoned the idea of paying for specific units of media and started creating our own.
Hi, I'm Charles Stewart Jr. I'm going to show you how to burn music to a music CD. First, you want to go out and buy some CDRs. Basically, these are CDs that are recordable, so that you can put them in your computer and burn them as, either storage or music CDs.
Almost a century of top-down broadcasting and publishing had created a huge demand for something else. And all kinds of funny things happened when we finally lifted the cage. First, the CD unbundled, giving rise to playlists and burn CDs, and then SoundCloud Rap, and the 90-second Spotify optimized single, but also the album cycle as an era, or the earth-shattering surprise drop of an artist like Beyonce.
Wait a minute! Wait, I'm sorry. I think Beyonce just released an album on iTunes.
What?
Oh my God.
Then newspapers and magazines unbundled. Publishers were finally able to see who was reading specific articles and started to lean into things like clickbait, viral news, and hot takes, but also conversely were able to create more impactful investigations or publish bigger projects that reached underserved demographics.
What we in the report call editorial analytics, so analytics that aren't simply about using numbers to try to generate a few more page views, but about using data to do better journalism and help journalists get that journalism in front of the right people.
And eventually, everything else unbundled much in the same way. You either got viral crap or mega-produced prestige content. And the kinds of media that still try to resist this unbundling are instead unbundled by users who turn clips from movies into memes or turn book covers and excerpts into aesthetic Instagram pictures. And the mostly unspoken deal has been that, unlike traditional media, you don't have to pay for social media. Instead, you could make what you want, share it how you want, and possibly even get paid for it, and it's all underwritten by advertisers. It was never a perfect deal, and over the years, the platforms that have facilitated this big transition have kept tightening the conditions of it, but the free price of admission was largely sacrosanct. The assumption was that no one in their right mind would pay for any of this stuff anyways. The content on these sites was just the junk that lived downstream from real media. Which was true until we discovered that everyone liked the runoff better. Now you can think about this 15-year period of big tech as an era, but you can also think about it as a big attempt at answering a couple existential questions that arose from what I consider to be the original sin moment of this era, which was music piracy.
Earlier this year, while completing work on a song for the movie Mission Impossible 2, we were startled to hear reports that 5 or 6 versions of our work in progress were already being played on some US radio stations. We traced the source of this leak to a corporation called Napster. Additionally, we learned that all our previously recorded copyright songs were, via Napster, available for anyone around the world to download from the internet in a digital format known as MP3.
And so we ended up with 4 central questions that basically every social media site, from Reddit to Tumblr to Facebook to YouTube, has tried to answer. 1. How do we give users access to the most content possible without piracy? 2. How do we get users to pay for content? 3. How can we pay creators to make increasingly better content? And 4. How do we monetize and utilize user data in non-destructive ways? And the truth is, we never really fixed any of those problems.
Daniel, I'm going to come over to you now. So you at Upworthy have pioneered the rollout of this new metric, right, called attention minutes, which tracks signals like whether a video is actually playing, whether somebody's moving their mouse, as kind of proxies for whether someone's paying attention to a piece of content. And more generally, Upworthy is known as a very data-driven company where data is really influencing the way that you package and promote the content that you sort of surface on the web. Could you tell us a little bit about sort of the big picture thinking behind attention minutes, and then also just sort of Upworthy's broader orientation towards data?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I'm actually going to take those in the opposite order.
Okay.
So,
Anywhere you want.
I think, when we at Upworthy think about data, we try to be realistic about data. Data is great for some things and not very useful for other things. And data for data's sake is useless. It's sexy. Big data is even sexier, but it's useless.
But we built a somewhat functioning system. Users can consume as much as they want as long as they don't own any of the content. It will be almost completely free because these platforms are full of ads, and they also sell our data. And creators can use these platforms and some of that data to build their own marketplaces, as long as their marketplaces heavily favor the larger marketplace they're working inside of. Like I said, it wasn't perfect. It was effectively a virality casino, but for 10 years, it sort of, kind of worked.
Hi, everybody. Here I am again in my living room. It's one of my favorite rooms in the house. Over the past year, I've spent hours and hours getting everything exactly right, trying to make it beautiful and cozy, and now there's a camera, lights everywhere, microphone pointing at my crotch, really ties the room together.
During the pandemic, venture capitalists and the people and organizations that fund the development of the web began dreaming up a new version of the internet, one where they could answer all of those questions with one easy fix. They even gave it a name, the metaverse, which they define as an immersive and surveillable digital shopping mall where content costs money to consume and share. It turns out, for the most part, this is manifested in deeply embarrassing Zoom calls that allow you to buy and sell genital-free cartoon avatars with dumb cryptocurrencies that have names like Slurp Clown Coin and Slime Ape Token.
The Doge community, I think, is somewhat irreverent, obviously, and has great memes and loves dogs, and I love dogs and memes.
But there really seems to be a genuine assumption that by spending enough money on these immersive quote-unquote platforms and online exchanges and marketplaces and all kinds of other various software as a service services, that we'll eventually be convinced that this is a good idea. And I really consider Clubhouse, the live audio app primarily used by people who work in human resources apparently, as the first attempt at building an online gated community.
Clubhouse co-founder and CEO Paul Davison, we appreciate you joining us, Paul. I spent the weekend, I should tell you, on Clubhouse. I saw you in a conversation with Ray McGuire listening in, the mayoral candidate who's going to be joining us on Squawk Box in just a little bit. And then, of course, last night, it was the debut of Elon Musk on Clubhouse. But talk to us, for those uninitiated, this is an invitation only currently platform, so it's not available for everybody, some of whom may be watching who are members, but others aren't, what it exactly is.
You need to jump in and taste it.
All right, I'm going to do it.
I'll tell you why, because I think for your sector, hosting some of those rooms for BlackRock will end up becoming something real in the next 18 months.
I'm going to circle back to you, Gary. I'm jumping in this weekend.
The real innovation of Clubhouse was its ability to pull Silicon Valley's most influential people into one digital space and give them the ability to broadcast directly to the rest of us. And suddenly a new path forward appeared. Online exclusivity.
I'm going to circle back to you, Gary. I'm jumping in this weekend.
In 2021, the live audio app was valued at around $4 billion, which is a stupid and insane amount of money, but the fact that it's so irrelevant now that the Russian government forgot to censor it after they invaded Ukraine last year is extremely funny. And Clubhouse isn't alone in this general slump from venture capitalist darling to forgotten plaything. Twitter Spaces had a similar evolution from shiny new toy to growth hack for scammers. After live audio was abandoned, the belief was that NFTs and the mass adoption of crypto could somehow manifest this metaverse. And the dream of crypto, as far as Silicon Valley was concerned, was that it could turn the internet into money itself.
This is your ape. Are we debuting?
It's really cool. Like the hat, the shades.
Now how did you pick? Because you can pick your ape.
Yes, I was going through a lot of them, and I was like, I want something that like kind of reminds me of me, but this one, it does.
But as we've very quickly discovered over the last couple of years, the technology just isn't good enough for mass adoption. It also may literally, as we speak, be causing a domino effect that leads to a global market crash. So if you're watching this in the future, jump in the comments and let me know how we ended up. Aside from just throwing heaps of money at crypto startups that promise to rebuild the internet in a way that would be easier to monetize this time around, a lot of these tech companies just decided to inject crypto stuff into any random crap they could find. So platforms like Kickstarter, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram have all at one point loudly declared their investment in blockchain technology, and almost all of those announcements have landed like a wet fart. In fact, Meta announced this month that it would be sunsetting support for NFTs, which was a thing it added to Instagram and Facebook less than a year ago.
Now, I want to acknowledge up front that NFTs and blockchain technologies and Web3 more broadly are all about distributing trust, distributing power. But Instagram is fundamentally a centralized platform, so there's a tension there. So one of the reasons why we're starting small is we want to make sure that we can learn from the community. We want to make sure that we work out how to embrace those tenets of distributed trust and distributed power, despite the fact that we are, yes, a centralized platform.
After it became clear that the current crypto winter was not going to thaw anytime soon,
We're all gonna make it. Yeah, we're all gonna make it. We're all gonna make it, everyone.
there was the belief that maybe some weird corporate sexless version of virtual reality could be the thing that actually makes the metaverse happen. And Meta ended up losing $13 billion last year trying to make that happen. And now, even though they've named their company Meta, they don't even mention the concept of the metaverse in their press releases anymore. And so ultimately, after everything else has failed, these companies have decided to go straight to the source. They want us to pay for the websites that we've been using this whole time, the same websites that they broke while trying to build the next big thing. In the last 6 months, Twitter has launched the $8 a month Twitter Blue. Meta is launching a similar $12 a month Meta Verified. And YouTube already offers the $11.99 a month YouTube Premium, which may start paywalling certain video resolutions soon. They want to pack us into a crowded and poorly moderated basement of the internet that they can fill with ads and micropayments, and then offer us a higher level that we can go to, a paywalled clubhouse for a monthly fee. According to a recent Recode article, though, it seems deeply unlikely that you could ever convince enough users to pay for one of these sites that could replace advertising entirely. In fact, Twitter reported that only 0.2% of its total user base is paying for Twitter Blue as of mid-January. And in the case of Twitter and Meta, it's a downright insulting proposition. Pay to more safely and securely browse your own content. Pay us to make more money with it. Pay us to outrank your friends and family in comment threads.
The uninitiated or those without a computer, tell us, simply what Facebook is and what it does.
So, I think Facebook is an online directory for colleges, and it's kind of interactive. So, if I want to look you up or get information about you, I just go to the Facebook and type in your name, and it brings me up, hopefully all the information I'd care to know about you, or a good amount of the information I'd want to know about you.
With Twitter in particular, the large majority of the site's best stuff is coming from non-professional users who are just shitposting for fun, which makes Twitter Blue something akin to being asked to pay to lower the chances of being stabbed while you read funny graffiti on a sketchy bathroom stall. The reason this is happening is because these platforms that unbundled traditional media didn't seem to anticipate that advertising would also unbundle, though it's definitely the logical conclusion there. Advertising is about capturing the zeitgeist to grab people's attention, and these platforms fractured the zeitgeist and broke people's attention spans. It also just might be that there's a certain size a website can be, and maybe Meta has reached it. It might not be a good thing to have a website any bigger than that.
And all of that isn't even taking into account that ad targeting is finally being addressed in semi-meaningful ways, whether by companies like Apple or governmental bodies like the European Union.
In other words, the party's over. I assume these platforms will try to bundle themselves back up via some kind of newfangled AI interface, which we'll get to in a second. But for the platforms that can't do it fast enough or well enough, their only option is to keep paywalling formerly free features and hope they can hang on to their existing user bases as they get older. Who knows though, maybe Twitter coins will be the thing that saves the industry.
I love dogs and memes. I love dogs and memes. I love dogs and memes.
The final question mark with all of this is TikTok. The Biden administration is considering an ultimatum for the app.
Either its owner, ByteDance, a Beijing-based AI company, sells its stake in the company, or it'll face a total ban in the US.
That's almost half of the US coming to TikTok to connect, to create, to share, to learn, or just to have some fun. This includes 5 million businesses that use TikTok to reach their customers, and the majority of these are small and medium businesses.
It's completely uncharted territory. The US has never pulled the plug on an entire social network before, and the idea of banning one as high profile as TikTok feels unimaginable. Also, to ban it would be the end of a very specific kind of viral loop that has existed for a decade and is increasingly rare. It works like this. You open TikTok, you scroll mindlessly for a while, and as you do, the For You feed updates in near real time, providing you more content based on what you've already seen. The app also bombards you with hashtags, trends, and prompts for commenting on or duetting with other people's videos. When it finally baits you into engaging in some way, its editing interface makes that almost seamless. The fact the app prioritizes trending content over specific users makes this effect even more pronounced.
You know about the Nyquil chicken challenge. I want to ask you, as I understand it, there's a sister app in China. Douyin, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. Do they have these same things over there?
This creates a fairly coherent internal conversation inside the app. It makes TikTok videos more of a delivery mechanism for discourse than something to be watched on their own in a vacuum. But it also means that you can just fire off a post from your couch and suddenly have millions of people watching it. Ironically enough, the same apps that have been claiming they'd invent the metaverse have also contorted themselves into such a state that posting anything to them requires a level of professionalism that makes this entire loop impossible. In 2023, there is simply nothing you can do in 15 minutes that will get you 1 million views on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Spotify. Please do not take that as a challenge. The lifeblood of TikTok, the bored college students, the bad and the bad on purpose home chefs, the bedroom DJs, the eels guy, that lawyer with the big rings that looks like he's wearing Hillary Clinton cosplay, they can't just easily move to a new app. I mean, they can, but they're not going to have audiences the same way. But more broadly, what I think this metaverse rush has actually accomplished is just expose how old the internet, particularly the American internet, feels now. Facebook turns 20 in 1 year, YouTube in 2, and Twitter in 3. Silicon Valley feels, for the first time in my adult life, wobbly in its influence. Obviously, some bad podcasting apps and some shitty monkey JPEG investments don't signal the immediate end of the tech world status quo, but it's hard to look at anything that's happened in that sector in the last 2 years and still feel like these people know what's going on anymore. It feels like Silicon Valley has collectively become sort of a weird, sad middle-aged man who buys a boat. He doesn't need to buy a boat. His life will be significantly more complicated and likely worse after he buys the boat. But he has somehow convinced himself that he needs to buy this boat because he has done the math and realized he's going to die soon, and he thinks the boat will fix this. Even though there are plenty of other easy, normal things he could do to feel better about this, but he's going to buy the boat. And we're all going to have to watch and feel awkward about that. Even though Silicon Valley is completely committed to having this weird, sad midlife crisis, we can see where this is all going and what's going to swallow everything up.
Infants are born with the ability to imitate what other people do. Here, a 10-minute-old newborn sees another person stick their tongue out for the first time. In response, he sticks his own tongue out. Imitation allows humans to learn new behaviors rapidly. We would like our robots to be able to learn this way too.
GPT-4 takes what you prompt it with and just runs with it. From one perspective, it's a tool, a thing you can use to get useful tasks done in language. From another perspective, it's a system that can make dreams, thoughts, ideas flourish in text in front of you.
LinkedIn recently announced AI-powered collaborative articles. Discord launched a generative AI version of their bot Clyde, and there are already a lot of fully AI streams on Twitch. Users on dating apps are using AIs to talk to each other, and I think very shortly the majority of content on TikTok and Instagram will either be AI generations meant to game the various ad revenue automations inside those apps, or it'll be users communicating through so much AI filtering that they don't really count as human anymore. Perhaps most unnerving of all, GPT-4 was able to hire a TaskRabbit to help it solve a CAPTCHA and then lied to the TaskRabbit about being vision impaired when the gig worker asked if the AI was a robot. Web 2.0 platforms are basically just becoming places that we will consume or interact with AI instead of the humans those platforms were originally created for. But the companies that own these platforms forgot about those humans a long time ago.
So I think Facebook is an online directory for colleges, and I mean, it's kind of interactive.
We believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet. We'll be able to feel present, like we're right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are. We'll be able to express ourselves in new, joyful, completely immersive ways, and that's going to unlock a lot of amazing new experiences.
The AI content creep is already doing to social media what social media did to that open web that came before it. It's gobbling it all up, replacing it with something easier, more convenient, and far more limited, and making what came before it almost completely irrelevant.
But keep the high quality comments coming in, please. This is surely on track to be a great live Q&A if we continue getting stuff at that level of quality.